Please stand. And before we do the pledge, if we could, just in remembrance of Kathy Thomas, who was the village administrator who had just retired, was in a tragic car accident over the weekend and has died. So if we could, in her remembrance, just have a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. This is our work session, followed by our regular meeting. And we will go right to the number one on the agenda, which is an application for temporary use permit. And this is the Western New York cyclocross. And I believe this is just a change in date. Is that from, are they changing to November 12th, Martha? Yes. The previous date was October 15th, and all they want to do is change it to November 12th. Everything else stayed the same. They got the insurance. Any questions?
Is the insurance, has a date, it has the original date on it, but not the new date? Is it good for a period of time?
We do have an update.
Okay, thank you.
Good catch.
Yes, I caught that. Not the town attorney that pointed out to me before I walked in.
Can't take credit, huh?
Nah, you'll
Any
got better
questions
me.
on it, or- No. Okay, that'll be on the agenda. We have another application for temporary use permit. And this is at J Nicely West Falls Park. And the description is educational programs focused on developing a healthy connection with the natural world. We work with adults and children throughout the year by offering a wide variety of programs with wide-ranging topics. Our naturalist educators are taught in the principles of leave no trace and have a healthy understanding on how to leave a place better than it was found. And they have other items in their program. And I believe they have a up-to-date insurance. This is for, and we don't have a date on this.
It's several dates, Jim.
Oh, on the back page, yeah. Okay, on the third page, September, October, January, February, and June. Any questions on that?
Does this require our action? It's only 15 people. Do they need a permit for this?
Yeah,
It's up to 25, it says, so I don't know if that makes a difference. 25 people.
Because all they want is to open up the bathrooms, right? I don't know. Do we have a person count that we require?
Well, I think they're gonna use the park. I mean, the one is, it's like orienteering here where they're studying. It's like orienteering, so they are gonna use the
Right,
itself.
right. But they could just go and use it.
map and compass use.
And then is this a for-profit, do we know, school? To be consistent with what we were talking about before?
I think this doesn't require any resources of us, right?
No.
Yeah.
just the restrooms, probably.
I mean, I guess the first question is, right, because are they paying one fee or one fee per date they're using it?
You want to bring the applicant up for questions?
Is the
There's a
applicant here?
representative.
Oh, yeah.
Come on up to the mic and state your name. That might be a little low.
So you can take it right out of this holder if you want to.
Shall I do this with the mic?
Yeah,
Please.
yeah, you can take it right up. That's good. Take it right up. That's perfect.
Give us a little Sinatra if you want to start things off.
It's all right. My name is Sanford Geffner, and I'm the director of the Earth Spirit Group. We are an environmental education group that was founded in 1980. We've been around for 43 years now in Western New York. And I'm here to answer questions if you have any for me. We have been conducting programs in the park through our own group and actually through East Aurora, a number of parks for quite a few years. And we were contacted this year for the first time actually to send in insurance materials, which we're happy to do, of course. And when we coordinate with other rec departments, that's exactly what we do. So, yeah, please, whatever questions you might have, I'm happy to try to answer them for you. Chris asked that I be here tonight. And so I'm here.
I think one of the questions Luke had was, is it a profit or not-for-profit?
We are a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Yes.
Any
So
other
the
questions?
programs we have coming in, as you've seen from that list right now, are with homeschool groups, public programs, and I believe another school group that we contract with through the year.
And in addition to just general use of the park, according to your program and your directives, there was a discussion, do you need the bathrooms? Is there anything other than that you would need?
No, in the past, whenever we did programs out there, we would call Elaine and she would give us the combo for the bathroom and we were all set. That's all we ever did in years past.
Dave, are those bathrooms heated all winter and up and running all winter?
Yes, they are, Chuck. And we don't use the combo lock anymore. We have a timer lock on there now.
Right.
And I assume 10 a.m. to 12:30 or 10 a.m. to 1 is open time, right on.
Yeah, 7 a.m. they open and they shut at 9 p.m.
Okay.
Is that?
Okay. I'm good.
Yeah, and once again, thanks. I always appreciate it when someone who's making an application comes in to say hello and gives us an opportunity, and especially something like this that's really going to be sort of a no trace on the park whatsoever. Also, it's starting this Saturday, so it's good to get this answered. So I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Sure. My only question for you is, these are the programs we have scheduled right now. Our insurance materials are designed to carry us through 1 year. What if we have other programs? What would you like us to do? Would you like us to contact Chris and let him know simply? Or do we need to go through any other process?
I would say that we discussed this last meeting. We are reviewing, right, the policy for use of our parks. So I would say that the answer right now is yes, but let us have a chance to go back, review our policy and think about it, because this is one of those situations as well where it's a bit of a, right, our policy maybe is a little bit old compared to what needs to be done here. So I think we should, yes, the answer be yes, call Chris.
That's easy.
So we're gonna try to see where this fits into what we have at present.
Yeah, just keep us up to date of what you have in mind of changes and
Okay, no, that's fine. We're happy to do that, of course. It's a beautiful
Additions.
facility. It's a beautiful park.
Underused
So-
too, so. Yeah.
For environmental work, it's really something very special.
I saw a rattlesnake there once, just so you know. I did.
Did you?
Yeah. Nobody believes me, but I did.
There are rattlesnakes in New
Yeah.
York.
Okay.
Was that after a softball game?
Actually,
The Bear League.
while I'm thinking of it, you should also know that my work is also at the university. I've been at the university teaching in the environmental program for more than 40 years. I take my classes there as well. I just thought of this. So each semester, I take one of my field ecology classes there to do forest ecology work. And I should just notify Chris then, if that's the case, that we'll be doing that as well. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Yep.
Good.
Thank you very much. for coming.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But if you're interested in your students doing things in the park, let us know. I think, volunteer work.
It snaps in.
Snaps.
You can just lay it on the chair too or something. There you got it. Okay.
Well,
Hmm.
sure. We have a very nice membership also at Earth Spirit. And we do things with them year round.
Yeah.
So how about if you're in need? If you're in need, let us know. And we can gather people from either UB, because I coordinate a botany club and I take kids out to do botany work there, or we have our membership with Earth Spirit. So if you have needs, you just let us know. We'd be happy to help.
Yeah, there's all sorts of interesting stuff I think we can do. Would you mind sending an email to townboard@townofaurora.com and just describe the program? And we can think about it and then maybe open a dialogue.
Describe our Earth Spirit program.
No, the UB
program.
program. Yeah. Earth Spirit we know about. Yeah.
Okay.
UB program just to see and then we could, yeah.
Sure, be happy to.
Yeah.
Who shall I send it to?
So townboard@townofaurora.com. That goes to all of us. So
Just an overview of the kind of work we do
Sure.
there.
yeah. And you don't have to, just if you are, if that is something of interest to work with us in the park, it would be,
Our students have been enjoying the place also for quite a long while.
yeah, great.
So.
Thank you
happy
for
to
coming.
help.
Thank you.
All right, next we have the senior center door project payment request. This is from Alligator Construction. Consider approving a payment of number 4 to Alligator Construction Corp. in the amount of $12,510 for materials and services rendered through June 30th, 2023 for the senior door replacement projects. And the funds will be dispersed from A6772.201. I would just, I guess, ask Chuck if that is okay to.
Yep, last week, Paul Ernst and William Height from Fontenay's Folk, Albrecht and Ernst, and myself met with the owners of Alligator Construction and addressed the issues that we had. That job has dragged on way too long. And we came to some agreements of how to fix them. And actually, that was, as I recall, a Thursday. And he said Monday he would have people here, which he did. And they've taken care of some of the major issues, most of the major issues, and there's just a couple smaller ones left. So I'm fine with this payment. We still have the holdback on it, so we still owe them money if they don't take care of the smaller ones, but I'm confident they will. We had in the end of it, we had a very productive meeting.
Thanks for taking care of that.
Okay, everyone good? All right, next. The bank depositories, this is a request from Kathleen to add TD Bank as a designated depository for the town. Current TD Bank is offering competitive CD rates. And does not require the additional savings or checking accounts. Adding them as a designated depository allows the town to monitor and take advantage of rates that are announced daily. So it would be just adding them today, and then when you do your reorg, with all the banks, you would add that to the ones that we're doing business with.
So it's just adding them as an additional,
Right.
okay.
What
Because
we do,
there are no TD banks in this area, right?
no, this is out of New York City.
So everything would be electronic transfer then, right?
Right. And this is just for our investments. So we go to different banks, and they're all vested, and we try to get the best rate that we can for our money. And they're offering the best rate right now.
Thanks.
And it can make, by going with them, it can make a difference of about $10,000 this year in our budget. So no one else could match them. So,
Wonderful.
and we cleared them through 3+1. They're a good bank. So. Good.
And they are Canadian banks, so that's US funds we're getting back, right? And that's,
Yeah.
okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
They are Canadian.
And this is a change order, and this is actually from Chuck. I don't know if you want to talk about this, Chuck, or you know a
Sure.
bit more about it.
Sure. This is a request from Fontenay's Folks, Albrecht and Ernst. This is in regards to the pool project. As this says here, the project time certainly took much longer than anticipated. The snowstorm in the middle of November didn't help, and there were several unforeseen circumstances, such as before you start any project with excavating, you always call underground. They come out, they locate the gas lines on power lines and anything underground that you may hit. Well, they did that, and it was all supposed to be clear, and we started excavating, and although we didn't bust the gas line, but we did come across the gas line right where the excavation was. And that's just one example of things that that happened throughout, frankly, the whole project. And in the end of it, I just want to say that to the board, that the project turned out very nice. There's still a couple of issues that were taken care of, but they're very small issues. But it turned out a very nice project, and it did come in. We did finish $8,500 or so, actually $8,506 under budget. And we did that through no small effort of Paul and William helping out with some issues. So it's my recommendation to approve this payment to Fontenay's, Foltz, Albrecht, and Ernst. But if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than glad to try and answer them.
I'm gonna go with these William hours, but those Paul hours, let's take a closer look at
Well,
those.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay. All right, next we have the Olean Road Golf Complex proposal, and we're talking about a local law. And I guess the question or decision from the board was whether we want to have a public hearing before we have that local law, do that local law.
I think we definitely ought to have a public hearing. I mean, we haven't even discussed. I mean, I know what the request is, but we haven't even really discussed the options in terms of making changes to that property to or to not accommodate the project.
I guess, am I right? You create the local law to be able to go ahead and go through the process. Is that correct, Martha? Right. Right. So it'd be in our best interest to have a public hearing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so too, Jim. I think it would be in our best interest to get the thoughts, just a little more, and maybe a lot more detail of what the scope of the project is, so that we really know just where this is going at this point in time, because it's a, you know, as any zoning changes, it's a major deal.
What has transpired thus far? I know I went to planning, and what transpired at the planning board?
The planning board made recommendation. We specifically talked about the fact
You want to come to the microphone, Doug?
Doug Crow, planning board chairman. The planning board specifically talked about the fact we are only looking at the request for the zoning board change, not the site plan, that's later. Okay, and the planning board did make a recommendation in favor of the zoning change with, you know, a couple little caveats and things, but they were in favor of that.
And we don't have that, right, Jim? I don't see any
It hasn't come
documentation.
through your
Okay,
agendas yet.
gotcha. Okay.
I was looking for that today when I was looking at your agenda. I'm like, I don't see it yet.
Yeah.
So our next move would be to hear from the public before we do the local law.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Which would be-
this issue has gotten a lot of traction online as well. And so I think we need to do the standard procedure in the advertiser, and also to code red geographically that region and notify people of the public hearing. And then also post on our social media pages to try to reach the largest audience, so we can at the end of the day say we've done our job to try to reach out to everybody that's affected in that area. So yeah.
So if we set the public hearing for the next meeting, it would be October 10th.
Okay.
So I can add that to the agenda, and we can vote to set the public hearing, and Martha can give out the notice.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah, and you think that'll be enough? That's only 2 weeks, and it's a Tuesday night, not a Monday night, obviously, so it's gonna be a little different for people who might want to attend.
Well, we do
It's-
advertise it on the.
It's really just a information. We're not gonna have the local law done at that time. It's really just kind of a informational hearing. You know what I mean, Jim?
I think so, yeah.
We'll
We want to hear from the public on this
Right.
on matter. So you said it's only 2 weeks. I mean, we have the ability to advertise it. It'll be advertised in the advertiser. You put it on the website. You put it on the.
code red on
Code Red.
Facebook, on
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, we'll be able to.
So I
pump it
mean,
out.
and it is a Tuesday, you're right, because that's
The Columbus
Columbus
holiday.
Day, right?
on
So
Monday.
it is a Tuesday, but I mean, just make sure that's advertised properly and.
And we'll at least post where we post that it to write to townboard@townofAurora.com if there's any comments, and then I think there'll still be an opportunity to speak 2 weeks after that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have
Yeah,
to
well,
vote on it.
yeah.
We're just gonna listen.
We're just
to-
listening. And
We want to compile the comments
Yep.
from the public, and then we need to brief ourselves and
yeah,
talk about
Great, thank you.
it. All right?
by then we'll have the comments from the planning board and take it all in and decide what the next step should be.
So I know you're here from that, so we'll be doing a public hearing next meeting, which is gonna be a Tuesday instead of Monday. It'll be at 7 o'clock. Okay, all right. All right, anything else from the board on the work session before we move on? Nothing?
Do you, I can explain now the New York Forward Grant informational hearing, or we can do it when we get
Well,
there.
I would like to do it before because we can't do the public hearings before 7.
Right,
And
so,
we have
okay.
10 minutes, so.
So the only, the reason why we have this is that when I was looking back,
So we're done with the work session. We're starting our town board meeting now.
Oh.
And we're doing C on the agenda, which is the New York State Forward Grant informational. Ahead of the public hearings, which can't start till 7 o'clock. And so I just want to make sure everyone
Yep.
knew where we were. Yeah.
so we've put a lot of time and effort into the application for the New York Forward Grant, which would be up to $4.5 million for West Falls. We have a number of prospective projects. I look back and we have met 8 times over the past year and a half with this on the agenda of the meeting within West Falls. But one thing that we never did is that we never advertised the meeting through the advertiser. So we've been advertising by social media, by our email address, and by Code Red once. So what I wanted to do with this informational hearing was to make sure that anybody who receives their information by the advertiser was able to come and give their thoughts about the New York Forward Grant before we have to submit it later this week. And as far as the grant is going, we've had did we talk about the representatives that came out? We did it last meeting. We spoke about that, right? Yeah, we've had several different people look at our application.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe I'm getting my dates mixed up. The last meeting, wasn't it at just 2 days after our last meeting?
Okay.
We might not have talked about it.
Okay. So, yeah, so we had the executive director of the Empire State Development Corporation, what is it called? And the deputy director responsible for the New York Forward program come out, and I thought we did talk about this, didn't we? Yeah, we talked about this. Yeah. Yeah, they came out and visited. Yeah. Since then, we've had there's a lot of free assistance that New York State has $1 million in assistance in putting together the grant. So we've spoken to an engineer, Jason Kulishevsky from the UBRI has been very helpful for us in putting it together. And then we've also received some feedback from whom else?
On the 11th, this was on the 13th.
Maybe that's it, just the two of them. And so I think we have a very improved application, even though we did well last time. We've got some exciting projects, so we'll see how it goes.
So by having just an informational meeting that was from your end, not asking anyone to come from.
Correct. Yeah. So we posted in the advertiser because again, that was the one form of media when I went back and checked and was writing that we hadn't done over the past year and a half.
So when do you think we'll know? Is there a target date?
Well, by the end of the year.
Mhm.
So they have announced dates, but they didn't abide by them last year. What the process is after this is that we are invited to give a presentation to the entire application committee. It's about 20 minutes long only, I think. It's pretty quick. So we'll have to start preparing for that. We'll be invited and then we'll have to go in like a week later. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. We have materials from last year. We'll have the materials from this year. So that we'll just put into a PowerPoint. We'll go and we'll present our case. And then there's a question and answer period that happens after that, where we talk about the budget and the projects and what exactly, to answer any questions they have from the application. The application is only 20 pages long. So it's kind of limited. And then you have all the letters of support and everything after that. And then,
and then at that point, Luke, we would get into more, hopefully all of this flies. Or we would get into more detail of exactly what the projects are. And
correct,
you
yeah,
know how that works? I mean, are they saying to us, okay, this is X amount of dollars that you can put towards, let's just say, the library, and this is X amount of dollars towards.
yeah. So say they don't, not at that point, they don't decide. So this is the committee that's deciding whether to fund West Falls in general based on the projects that we are proposing as a town, which are all of the projects that have been put forward. What happens after that is that there's a design phase. So as a part of the grant funding, again, that $1 million that was put to the sort of pre-grant. If we are awarded the New York Forward Grant, we would go into the design phase, at which time there would be representatives from the state that came out and toured and looked at all of the projects and understood, and then came up with a timeline. During that phase as well, a local committee is created that would have the supervisor, that would have, we community members. That would be something that we put together to get with the state, that has state representatives, local representatives, and then regional representatives as well, that would come together and then meet periodically to discuss the different projects. And that's at the point when the final projects will be awarded. So even though we put them in the application now, doesn't mean that those are the ones that are going to be awarded. But the application is determined based on that. So one mistake we made last year is that we were putting in a lot of projects that weren't ready, thinking that, well, they'll come in and there'll be a design. And that's part of it, is that the purpose of New York Forward is also to help design those things. But in reality, they want more shovel-ready projects, which is we're 1 year down the road, and we had started all of these projects sort of before, and people kind of moved on with them, like Westfall Center for the Arts. I don't know if you want to announce what you received from the county. Is that public?
I don't know if it's public, but why not?
Now.
So
Well, as long as it's not being broadcast on YouTube or anything like that. Then, so Westfall Center for the Arts has been slowly expanding westward through the building. And you got an opportunity. I think everyone on the board has been out there to see it. And that area where the stage is, that was the venue at one point in time. And then we've knocked down walls and gone essentially westward ever since, until we got to a point where we ran out of building. So the idea is to discuss and to plan for a small outdoor amphitheater venue where we can have arts and continue to have music at certain times during the summer. And also we've coordinated with Griffith Sculpture Park to put a walk park through there as well. We've been petitioning the county for quite some time to get some capital funding to do the blacktop, knock down buildings, do things like that. We were awarded a grant of $250,000 recently. So we're very excited about that, and we're much closer to shovel ready with that boost. And again, we don't have plans yet, other than this is the idea, this is what we want to do. And we've been partnering on and off with the Blueberry Farm next door in the limited way we can as a nonprofit with a for-profit. So yeah. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I think Chuck, you were down there, Joe and Jim, we were all down there during the tour. So after the design phase, then that's all established. Then the committee votes on which projects will move forward and get what funding. Generally, there is a public funds are a 0% match. So improvements to the West Falls Veterans Park, for example, or the lighting that we've been talking about, the nice lamp posts would be a 0% match. Nonprofits is a 10% match, and then businesses is a 40% match. So once we have that all established, then it would be the implementation phase, which goes fairly quickly, and you would have to finish it up by the end of 2025, 6. So that's how it goes. And the vision for West Falls, we have a vision, and I'm not going to read it out loud because it's a full paragraph, but you have a walkable, bikeable community there that's having 2 sidewalks that are installed, agro-tourism with an ADA connection to the trail as a destination for Orchard Park, a gateway to the ski resorts. The library would receive a lot of funding. The Rails and Trail and the Conservation Society solution would be a part of that. You've got the grist mill and the train depot, and another store. So you'd have an expansion of commercial space down there to create a local place to provide services as well, with generally a facelift of the entire area. So now we wasted time till 7. So it's exciting. It really is. It's a lot of writing. I'm kind of tired of
And
writing.
they also had an opportunity to visit the bakery and the dog bar as well, and hear about what they're doing, as well as hear about the the limited farmers market that they had over the summer. So,
Good.
Exciting stuff.
Deal. All right, thank you.
And Doug was there.
It's exactly 7 o'clock. It was perfectly timed.
I was ready to keep going, but I figured.
Okay, so we have 2 public hearings tonight. The first one is on the fireman's exemption. And we will start that public hearing at 7:01. If anyone would like to come up to the mic, give us your name and speak on it. This is an exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers to allow them up to a 10% reduction of their assessment on their property. Is anyone here who would like to speak on that item at all? Come on up. Come right up to the mic here. And you can adjust it how you want or pull it right out. We just need you to speak into it so we all can hear. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Hayden. I live on Fillmore Avenue.
That's good. Pull it right out. Yep.
Okay, oh, okay. So I was looking at the proposal online. And my question is for the spouses. After somebody has been with the fire department or the EMS services for 20 years. Right? Am I understanding that correctly? If they had been in the service for 20 years and they passed away, their spouse, as long as they were not remarried, could continue to get that discount. As long as they stayed and lived in the town.
Okay.
I'm just asking, am I understanding this correctly? Did I read correctly?
I would ask the town attorney.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. I don't have an answer here for me, but I can look into that for you.
So Bridget,
Okay.
does this apply? This applies for only the town tax though. And if you're on Fillmore,
Oh, no, I know, I'm
yeah,
not worried if I'm concerned for myself.
yeah. Okay.
It's-
Yeah,
So I'm just saying that I live,
yeah,
if you needed to know who I was and where I lived.
yeah. Right.
If I may, I got right to item B under 101-36.6, grant of lifetime exemption. Any existing exemption granted hereunder or previously granted hereunder may continue or be reinstated respectively due to deceased enrolled member's unremarried spouse.
For the
So,
life of that.
yeah,
spouse.
where such deceased member was an enrolled member for at least 5 years. Ooh, was killed in the line of duty. Okay, I am going to
Well,
refer this to the town because it gets
there's
complicated.
2 of
Okay.
them. There's one about being in service for 5 years.
Any enrolled member in corporate.
And there's another one that says if they had 20 years of service.
Yep.
And passed away.
That's a.
That's a.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
mean,
the 2 of them. So both circumstances, the spouse is allowed to continue. As long as they stayed in the town. Okay. I don't
Okay.
know how I feel about that. That's why I'm guessing kind of
Okay.
asking.
well, I
I
don't know if we have the answer on that, right? So if any enrolled member or of an incorporated volunteer fire company or fire department who accrues more than 20 years of active service and is so certified by the authority shall be granted the 10% exemption as authorized by this section. So that does not apply to a spouse unless there's some other provision there.
Yeah, it's section C that I find that if you have 20 years of service, we're not killed in the line of duty. Those benefits extend to an unmarried spouse.
And same if they had been 5 years and killed.
Well, 5 years killed in the line of duty, 20 years not killed in the line.
Right.
That just goes on to the
Oh,
spouse.
Ms. Hyde, what is your concern about, or what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm mixed. I understand and I like the idea of extending the a tax benefit for their services. I just didn't know how long I wanted to extend it to go on. And I just didn't want it to pass on to the family or whoever lived in that house kind of thing. I just didn't want to see it extending beyond.
Yeah, it's for the, it sounds like it's for the individual. I mean, our town attorney can talk more about that maybe, but it's for the individual at that particular property within the town. If they move, they to a different town. Probably not, they'd have to rely on what that town, but if they move
So
within
they
the town
could-
itself.
Could still move, but as long as they stayed within the town.
Yeah, I-
That's where it was like, oh, this is kind of vague here, you know, I didn't know. How generous and how ongoing it would.
I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know, but I think that was kind of the idea, though. The idea was to reward some of the, the police firefighters, service members and their spouses,
and their family
what
members.
we could do within the town itself. So
Right.
I don't have an answer for you, but I would think that if someone moved from one part of the town to the other, we would want that exemption to follow them there.
As long as
It
they stayed
states that.
within the town.
Yeah.
And it was just the.
I think it
spouse.
states that in there, yeah.
As
I
long
was
as the
just-
primary
Just
residence
doing
is
the
in town.
clarification, kind of just making sure I understood what I was reading. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, it's good you brought up. I think we have, it's a. But I think our intent, perhaps, and we'll see when we get to a vote, but is probably to be more granting a wider net than less to try to provide those benefits to the spouses when they have had a spouse that served 20 years or more. I think I personally is deserving of continuing that benefit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Make sure I was reading what I was reading correctly.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
You can just put that on the chair. Just pull those chairs out. We gotta do so, yeah, it shouldn't roll off there. There you go. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this? Nobody? Then we'll close the public hearing at 7:07. 7:07. Any comments from the board?
I think I understand it correctly, and I understand the residents' concern. But it does appear to be it's 5 years. If you're 5 years of service killed in the line of duty, it goes to your unremarried spouse should you pass away. 20 years of service, it goes to your unremarried spouse should you pass away. And I have no issue with that. I think it's well deserved. I think this is a great program.
I mean, it's terrible to say, but the service that we are receiving as a town compared to the cost of the tax cut is still grossly inadequate.
No.
So
It's
it's
a nice
volunteer.
benefit for our volunteers.
It's volunteer.
It's a nice.
If we had to pay for that service, it would be a very large tax increase for the town
Mhm.
residents.
Then we will go to the next public hearing. And we'll open that public hearing at 7:08, and this is the local law intro 5, and this is the tax cap. And this is just a vehicle for the town to exceed the tax cap if for some reason it has to. It is not we're not looking to do so, and I believe through our budget hearings, we're going to be under the tax cap for sure. But this is just kind of an insurance policy. If we don't do this local law, then it's very hard to exceed the tax cap without doing that. So anybody have any comments on that? They would like to come up to the mic, please do.
It's disappointing.
Come on up.
It's such an important issue. Yeah.
So I need to state my name again, or? Chris Hayden.
Mm.
So my question is, it wasn't already incorporated in the original tax cap legislation? I guess I thought that was when there was the tax cap. I thought there was some provision to be able to request an override.
That's what this is.
That wasn't done, that wasn't addressed already. I thought that was addressed already in the
But
original.
Addressed by the law, the state law, or addressed by the town board already?
I don't know which
don't-
law, I don't know which law that pertains to. That's my question. I thought that was considered and addressed when that law was passed, whether it was state or
Yeah.
local.
This law at this level has not been passed yet.
So
But
if it was at the state level, wouldn't that already affect you? That you would need to have to do?
As a
it at the
local
town level?
government, we have to pass a local law to exceed the tax cap. And if we don't put that in our reorg to do automatically every year, then it's something we have to do every year. If we don't have to do it, but if we're saying we're not going over the tax cap and we made a big error in our numbers or something came in at the last minute and we exceeded it, there's a lot of fines and a lot of paperwork and all. It's just not good. So that's why we're doing this local law to allow us to exceed it if we have to. We don't have any intention of doing so.
So on the state level, the state sets the cap for us for next year's budget for
Okay.
2024. And the only way that you can exceed that cap is if you do certain things, one of which is to pass this local law that you're going to exceed the tax cap. So we are this is under consideration today, even though we all strongly feel that we want to remain within the tax cap. And I think that's been a consistent policy among this board and previous boards, except for one COVID year. It is the attempt for the town to remain within that tax cap. But again, yeah, if this law is not passed and then something else were to happen after this, the budget process is long and there are a lot of different interests and things. And we wouldn't have the option then to go over the tax cap if that emergency situation happened. If we pass this allows us to do it, doesn't make us do it.
Do you consider putting a cap on how far you can override? I mean, I just wouldn't want to say, yeah, go ahead, override. And just go ahead and just put it through. If we have the tax cap, and I understand, if and when situations come up that, God forbid, that we have to go over the tax cap limit. I wouldn't just want to see it just given as an open-ended, sure, go ahead, override as much as you want. And I don't know if you can, whether you consider like a percentage sort of thing, or, that if you're overriding.
Well, these are truly for unforeseen circumstances. So for us to sit here and say, okay, it won't exceed, some percentage. What if it did? I don't know.
So does that, so then does it get voted again
Right.
each time
So you're,
the incident occurs?
well, the budget process still has to go forward. And so there's a tentative budget today, and then there's a month and a half still until we get to the final budget.
Mhm.
So if we were to somehow, I don't know, something were to happen and it would go over by 10%, that of course would be that gentleman over there reporting on the front page of the Advertiser. And I hope we get a lot of people in here that would ask us what we were doing. So there is, I think, oversight of us in you, and that we don't do that. But I haven't seen any tax cap bills like this that did cap it. Maybe it's something to look into for next year, but yeah, I think.
It's impossible to know what expenditures are going to be sometimes.
Right.
So to
No.
be able to say
I-
that we
that's
can
for
only
sure.
go over by a certain percentage,
And we-
the money has to come from somewhere. But looking at what we've already budgeted and where we're at, we're looking pretty good to be quite under the tax cap. This is again only an insurance policy in case something happens. It's simply, all.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's where I was questioning,
Yeah.
to say, I was like, oh, okay, I thought we had a tax cap for a purpose. And I didn't want to see it go as a.
Yeah, there is a tax cap for a purpose that, I mean, but the general, and that's from New York State, the general municipal law allows towns in these unforeseen circumstances to go beyond it.
Right,
But I don't have an answer if the state has a limit on that, you know, if it can only be 10% or, you know,
Right.
something like that. But then as the supervisor was saying, that it's the town ordinance as well that we're looking at to give us that cushion.
Yeah.
And I think,
And I
Jim,
just-
you've been here a long time. Strange things can happen, but you've been under
Oh.
budget.
We only had to bust the budget or go over once, and it was slightly over, but that was during COVID.
right.
And our revenues were very low. Expenditures kept going up.
Oh, for sure. COVID.
Revenues are very low and we had no choice. And it was only over.
So
a
how was
couple
that
percent.
addressed at that time?
We had done this, what we're doing now. I agree with you because the first time I saw this, I had the same reaction you did, which was no, we should be doing it. But then the COVID year, we did do this. And I mean, we had known about it beforehand, but we had to do this anyways.
Yeah.
We had to go through this process to do it.
That's what I thought. And it was like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I just don't want to give a blank check. I mean, if it's an individual situation as we come up against something, yes, then I think, you know,
So,
we have to consider it. And I just didn't want to give a blank check.
yeah.
Well, it's not only in
Yeah.
your best interest, but it's in everyone else up here's best interest to keep your taxes low, believe me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or we wouldn't be sitting here next year.
Right.
Yeah. And the village passes the same law every year too, and I don't believe they typically exceed the tax cap. It's
Yeah.
like just insurance. It's
Yeah.
just to prevent us. We're trying to limit our potential future liability should something bad happen.
These are good questions, so and I'm glad you're bringing them up.
This is why I was like, I just said, oh, we're gonna override. the
No,
tax
I wish more
cap.
people would ask the question.
No, it's
Is not our
what
intent
if.
to.
Good.
All right.
That was
Heaven,
why I was here
heaven
to
forbid.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you hear anything, you come back here and remind us of this conversation if it changes.
Anybody else want to speak on this?
Good question.
If not, we'll close the public hearing at 7:17. All right. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes. September 11th, 2023 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
Second,
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Now we have audience one, and this is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the board on any items that are on the agenda. If you wish to do so, please come up to the mic. Give us your name. Nobody? Going once, twice, okay.
Oh, the New York Forward,
Oh, I thought we did that.
but not at the 7 o'clock, not
Oh.
after 7 o'clock.
Okay. Is there anybody here that wants to talk about the New York Forward grant?
Because Luke will spend 20 minutes on it, half an hour. So if somebody could please just come up and.
Doug, come on, let's have a conversation about it.
Nobody? Okay, good.
You got the times on that, right?
All right.
I still got board member business later to, it's okay, yeah, we'll swoop around.
Unfinished business.
Oh, yeah.
And we go right to local law number 4, the volunteer firefighters ambulance property tax exemption. Do I have a motion to adopt that local law?
So move.
Motion by Luke,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. Sorry about that, Martha. B, is a local law for the tax cap override. Do I have a motion to adopt that local law?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
I,
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, both passed. Under 5 new business, we have to add to set a public hearing for the Olean Road Golf Complex proposal. So do I have a motion to add K, which would be setting the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have the temporary use permit for the cycle cross, and it's just a date change to November 12th, 2023 from October 15th. And that is, and Martha has the updated insurance policy on it, certificate. Do I have a motion to approve?
so move.
Motion by Luke,
I'll second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And next we have the application for temporary use permit for Earth, Spirit and Educational Services. And the dates listed in back, September 29th, October 14th, January 22nd, February 12th, and June 4th, 2024. This is at Nicely Park. Any questions? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any questions?
I just wanted to say kudos to Chris for pointing them out that they should come in for this. I mean, they could have shown up for the next 10 years. We never would have known, but now we have insurance and got our T's crossed and our I's dotted. So I think that's,
We met
And
the
I-
gentleman and,
yeah.
yeah.
I do think we need to have a more clear policy about this because, this is even several different days.
Right.
So we should have different, just look at it and
Right.
think, well, it makes sense because it would, if it's a 25 and under, the fee would be one thing. And so no fees for those. Yeah. Well, but if there would, then the opposite side, if there be
Well,
a
definitely-
large one, then we would want
Definitely,
to no fee.
definitely in a policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some other things we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those use permits.
Right, right. So I guess after the New York Forward grant, that'll be our next project.
All right, next we
Vote.
have, oh, I'm sorry.
vote.
Yep, gotta vote.
Oh, yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried.
Good.
Thank you, Joe. All right, C is the senior citizen door project. And this is to consider payment to Alger Corporation in an amount of $12,510 for materials and services rendered through June 30th, 2023 for the senior center door replacement project. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And is carried. Next, we have D, and this is from Kathleen Moffett. She please consider adding TD Bank as a designated depository for the town. The currently TD Bank is offering competitive CD rates and does not require the addition of savings or checking accounts. Adding them as a designated depository allows the town to monitor and take advantage of rates that are announced daily. I have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion?
I will also give kudos to Kathleen for constantly keeping her ear to the ground on this kind of stuff.
She's very good at that. And again, this would be an additional $10,000 to the town.
I think 10,000 is wonderful. The only concern I have, and I'm just floating it out there. I'm not saying from any expertise. I love Canada. It is a Canadian bank. I don't know that it has. I don't know that it has any branches here or in this area. You said there is one in New York though, right, Jim? As far as you know?
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about getting the money if there's any issue with,
Everything's wired today. It's not a,
right, but is it FDA? Is it insured?
oh
Is
yeah,
it,
it's all been vetted by the companies that we do business with, 3+1
okay.
and New York. Oh, can't think of the name. But they've all been vetted. We wouldn't just pick any bank.
New York Department of Banking or maybe or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, just, I mean, HSBC is Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, right? So the US bank, in order to operate, including TD Bank, which is a very large bank down there, is a US bank. It has to be, it can be a subsidiary of a Canadian bank, but it is then regulated as a US bank, just like all the other banks. So that
So you do know that it is a US bank.
right, is US bank regulated by both the FDIC and the New York,
Doug,
TD has a very large US operation. They bought Banknote many years ago, which is one of the larger banks in Maine, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. So they do have a large subsidiary.
Thank you.
Not in this area.
Wonderful.
They have ATMs in Cheektowaga.
That's all the comments I have on that, but thanks so much. I appreciate it.
hey, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah. So, okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, this is a pool project change order. And due to the construction extensions, the actual cost is $11,150 or $2,650 more than the approved amount. And we talked about this in the work session due to construction project normalcies, I guess. But anyways, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
I'll second.
seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. We have a budget amendment for rec. Find it here. Approval is requested to amend the youth education budget line as presented below to reflect the increased revenue coverages and overages in the vendor line. This is from Chris Musehaven. The youth education program is increased by $842. And the youth education vendors is increased by $842. Do I have a motion to approve?
so moved.
Motion by Luke,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And that is carried. Next, this is a request from Elizabeth Vizio. Approval of sending Michael Evans to the Cornell University right-of-way pesticide workshop being held on October 12th and 13th in Auburn, New York. The registration fee is $105. And a hotel room for one night at the Holiday Inn Auburn is $107. The total for this workshop will be $212 plus meals. Continuing education is needed for Mike Evans to keep his pesticide license. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion?
Money well spent,
I'm sorry.
money well spent.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. And next, this is because from Stephen Pigeon. We need a motion to add the town of Orchard Park delinquent water bills for town of Aurora customers to the 2024 Erie County tax rolls in accordance with the town Article 12, Section 198 for non-payment. And they are listed on your front sheet there. Any questions?
I guess so. I think I understand this, but just to make sure I do. So these are come from the town of Orchard Park, but there are water customers. And if you don't pay your water bill, it goes on a delinquent tax bill. Do I have that correctly?
Correct.
All right, got it.
And what are the delinquencies here? They're lengthy, yeah? How long have
How
they?
long?
Or up until this quarter. Until the third quarter of 2020. 2022 there are.
But we've given adequate time for them to pay, right? Whether,
This is Orchard Park.
yeah,
That's where Park is.
right.
We do this every.
I know, yeah, he asked the question, so I thought about it, and you wouldn't want to put someone delinquent if they're just, a month over.
They've been.
They've been doing it for a while, yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Next, this is a request from Martha. Please consider approval of payment number 8 to Floyd Albert in the amount of $5,313.23 for professional services rendered from April 29th, 2023 through September 1, 2023 for the Church Street Bridge Replacement Project. And funds will be distributed from the H75120.210. This is also, number 2 would be the East Fillmore Bridge, and please consider approval of payment number 8 to Foyt Albert in the amount of $2,179.21 for professional services rendered from April 29, 2023 through September 1, 2023 for the East Fillmore Avenue Bridge Replacement Project. And funds will be coming from that same budget line. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck. Do I have a second?
Second,
Slowest gun in the West.
You, Jim? So
I
you-
heard Luke.
no, it's Jim. We'll give it to Jim.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Next, we have the tentative budget. And this is from Kathleen Moppett. And I guess this goes to the town clerk, right?
No, I'm presenting it to you to accept it, make a motion to accept it.
Okay, all right. Some of the notes that are on here, we are $25,181 under the tax cap. There'll be a fund tax increase of 2.97%. In the B fund, there'll be a tax decrease of 0.47%. And the DB fund, there'll be a tax increase of 0.92%. Very, very flat tax, so it's very good. Any other questions on it?
We have another meeting on Wednesday, is that what
Yes.
to discuss?
Yep.
Okay.
We should hopefully button it up, shouldn't take, unless there's issues or anything, they shouldn't take long.
That's at 5:00, right?
What's that?
5?
5 o'clock. 5 o'clock on Wednesday, right up here. Any other discussion, questions? No. We have a motion to accept the tentative budget, 2024 tentative budget.
So moved.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. And then K, which we added, was the setting a public hearing for the Olean Road Golf Complex proposal. And that would be at 7 o'clock on October 10th. We have a motion to add that public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Luke,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Communication and reports. We have the August 2023 Senior Center Garbage Service Town Clerk reports, and we also have the Aurora Historical Society newsletter. Next, we'll go to business from the board members. Joe?
Just two things. The composting grant is coming along. Resident Sue Russell is working on it. Exciting news though, Dave, and this might impact the request we had made from the highway department. The county received a grant from the DEC and purchase a Ford Lightning that they intend to use to go around to municipalities and collect compost destined for the Alden prison. So that's good stuff. They're making great progress on that. It's moving along. The other thing is Luke and I attended the press event for the launch of the Erie County Ambulance Service. The first one actually ended up going into the Colden the Colden Fire Department, but there's going to be 2 in service initially, and then it's going to get us up to 5, and those are going to be in a new building built on county property on Olean Road at the old asphalt plant. So we are going to be right in the midst of this county ambulance service with 5 fully staffed ambulances in service. And I think the estimate for that to be completed is about 2 years. So it's good stuff.
Great. Yeah.
Nothing more to report. I think, Luke helped steal the thunder, but really, not to single out just one person on the board, but everybody's been involved in this New York Forward grant. I think it's exciting for, and I hope it's exciting for anyone who lives in West Falls. It started out years ago, with Chuck and Luke and the board talking about overlay in that area. And businesses have been growing there, and the residents there have expressed their concerns and their hopes for the area. I hope New York State listens. I hope that they see that there's a lot that is going to be done there, and it's meant to make the place as beautiful, livable as it is, a little more livable. It's not to turn it into Ellicottville. It's not to turn it into Amherst. I don't think it could. But it's meant to improve the citizens who live there and who shop there and who visit there. So I appreciate all the hard work from everybody on the board that's been active in this. So
Thanks.
Just want to mention that I attended my first rural transit budget meeting with Supervisor Bach, and also to commend all of you who did such a great job with the New York Forward. And that day was truly educational. And everything was so well organized. You had so many people with so much input throughout the whole hamlet. And I mean, I learned things. I mean, I never knew that the West Falls Colden Library was built by the CCC back in, I think it was 1926. So it was a great 3 hours that spent. So thank you all.
Yeah, and I mean, it's thanks to the community members as well, right? And not as well, but thanks to community members who are doing all these fascinating projects that we're able to put it together. It's a great community. I had just 2 things. Well, one was the ambulance service. I think it's a great example of public servants. We don't get a lot of credit a lot of times, but identifying an issue, a problem, and then coming up with a solution. And I think it's going to save lives. And for me, it was very special being in Colden, where my parents live, where I grew up, where I saw all these old time firefighters who I knew from when I was young, who may benefit from this service. It was really a great experience to be out there. So, and we just need to keep moving with that issue and make sure that we stay ahead of any issues with ambulance services. Second thing is the Climate Smart Community Task Force. We had a meeting since we last met. I can't really say too much about what we spoke about, but we are working on a number of different initiatives. The most important, I think, for the board to know is that we are considering doing a community campaign. Joe also was at the meeting, so correct me if I'm wrong. A community campaign where we will encourage town residents to switch their energy source to solar, get a 10% discount, and that may give us up to $30,000 in funding to work on clean energy community and climate smart community initiatives. We are also very, very close to the next silver level of the clean energy community with a couple of different initiatives, and that would give us an additional, I think, 12,000 to continue working on those.
And just to clarify, it's not installing solar, it's simply making signing up with through NYSEG to have your energy sourced from a solar source.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we tried doing that a few years ago,
And
maybe it was too soon.
So, yeah, it might be too soon. And I think a lot of it is the timing as well. But the farmers market is out there. You can get people to sign up. I signed up for the wind energy. I think it was at one of those types of events. So, and And it'll be all volunteer. We won't be working on it. It'll be the task force that'll register people. And if we get a certain number registered, then there's different tiers, and hopefully we can convert some of the energy users to solar. It's through NYSERDA, just the funding for that is through NYSERDA. So.
That it?
Yep.
I just have one thing. Actually, Chuck and I had a meeting with the Masonic Temple people interested in the seminary out on Knox Road. I've had several conversations since that meeting with a gentleman. The property, I believe, has been released by the bankruptcy courts. So some activity might start happening out there, and they've got a pretty nice project plan for that. If they do end up with it, and they have the resources to do it, and it would almost keep the complex the same as it is right now. And make it available to nonprofits to use the cafeteria, like Kiwanis used to use it, and so on and forth. But it's just the infant stages, but there's something that's going to be happening there in the near future, I think. So
I've been on the other side of that discussion, and I think that's very serious with a lot of money backing it. So
yeah, the according to him, money is not an issue. Yeah, so
That's great.
It's a great way to open a negotiation.
That's yeah.
it's good to hear. I don't know if you want to tell the people that you're buying, money's not a problem.
So we talk about the.
Okay, next we have audience 2, and this is an opportunity for anyone to speak to the board on any items they choose. Would anyone like to speak? Polly? Can someone run him the mic?
Dave's got it.
Oh, okay. So I would like to know how you all think the town and the village could work together more. I'm thinking of in particularly, Jim, we've talked on the phone a bunch about this, the pickleball courts. Is there a park in the town? Or
So is the question about pickleball courts in the village and the town? Is that what? The town already has pickleball courts, Polly. We have 6 of them, I believe, and 2 in Community Park, 2 in Warren Park, and 2 in Nicely Park. Is that correct, Dave? I think the village has cut their hours down and
their courts.
and reduced a couple of their courts to try to alleviate the noise problem.
yeah,
As we get into the winter months, I suppose maybe they'll come up with some different ideas on how to alleviate that noise.
yeah. I was just wondering how the village and the town could work together. I'm just concerned about the village residents' noise complaints.
So if I can, Holly, there had been some suggestion about moving some courts to the pool park. I don't personally think that's a great idea because the density would just be moving the problem. But if and we spent ARPA funds and the highway did a great job building those courts, by the way, to create those courts and to resurface the tennis court. So we don't want to undo the work that we've already used funds to pay for. I would personally be, if someone wants to fund more courts at JP Nicely where there's no residents, that could be something that could be discussed. But I certainly don't want to create a noise problem over at the pool park that we don't currently have.
Like, yeah, I think what some of the things that went into the decisions behind the pickleball courts, there's a couple things to think about. First of all, 2 courts is not enough courts for a league to come in and use it. Really, they're designed for residents. for town residents to be there for recreational activities. If we were to expand to 4 courts at any one of those locations, then we would be inviting leagues to come in, which may be detrimental to our own residents and taxpayers who want to use the pickleball courts for a recreational purpose. The second point is that in a community, cities throughout the country, the latest statistics that I saw were that for every 20,000 residents, 4.1 pickleball courts in the city of Seattle is the best that there is for large cities. And we have a population of about 14,000. We have 6, plus the 2 at the Hamlin Park. But even if those were to be closed, we would be 6 to 14,000, which I think is an appropriate number of pickleball courts, public pickleball courts for the population. So the village, I think we can continue to work with them and have conversations. We're always talking to them. But as far as I'm concerned, I think it would be detrimental to the pickleball courts already installed if we were to do some changes. That's just me.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, I'm sorry, but I echo what Joe said about, that certainly the village hasn't approached us at all about going out to Nicely Park, but, that's, I think you have to get away from the population. That seems to be what the problem is. And the population wants it. So that means if they want it, they're going to have to drive probably. But sorry to jump in there, Chuck.
No, that's,
Thanks.
Oh,
I think you've said enough on that.
thank you.
Thank you, Polly.
Good to see you. Come stop by more.
Dave Michelle has something in the back.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Sure.
Yeah, why don't you come right up front? Yeah. Yeah.
Dave did a psych out.
Hi, we just need your name.
Mix right on, the mic is right on this chair there.
Evening. I'm Michelle Biella at 370 South Park Place. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you all for all the good work you do every day on our behalf. And I wanted to mention that we're recruiting members to come, folks to come to an October 5th event at Elm Street Bakery. They're giving us a space for the Cornell Climate Stewards course, and it's called Menu for the Future. And I think I mentioned that this was underway in the past. What we're doing is trying to get a core group of folks with food as a discussion and an entry point to larger environmental improvements in the area. And so those can be at a household level, or those can be at a community level. And I'll just pass this down the line here. And this is our discussion group guide. And it's from the Northwest Earth Institute in Portland, Oregon. And they've been writing this type of, not a manual, but a study guide for about 25 years. And so I mention this to you all because you know a lot of people who might be interested in food systems. And oftentimes this is overlooked because we look at larger things like transportation, lighting, and other things that municipalities deal with. But I think we chose this because it affects everyone, whether they're able to purchase the food or grow their own food, or rely on others for it, or if they are also challenged in finding food. So for a community of this size, we have some options, but a lot of those options aren't always evident. Everything from farmers markets to buying directly from the farmer. So just wanted you to know that this is underway, hopefully starting in October 5th.
If you send me that information, I'll get it on our website.
Thank you.
Okay, just email it to me, and
Thanks.
Supervisor Town of Aurora. I'll get it over to our Rob Geller.
That'd be
And
great.
you guys can put it on.
And where is the event on October 5th?
It'll be at Elm Street Bakery at 6:00. And it's open to the public. And those that want to stay on and be part of the study group are welcome to participate at whatever level for the next 5 weeks after that. So it is a bit of a commitment, but we know that some people will just dip in and dip out. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can set the mic right on the chair there. That's fine.
Do you want that back?
You're
Yeah,
sitting.
it seems like a pretty official copy.
Anybody else have anything to say to the board? Nobody? Okay, then we will go to staff reports. And who do we got? Doug? Paul? Dave? You know, Liz, did I miss anybody?
Chief isn't here.
No?
He said he's going on vacation.
Now we have motion to approve the abstract.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Chuck. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is carried, and motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried.